already given all pertinent information and supporting documentation to the Senate Intelligence Committee and ARROW. They informed me that all of my information will be recorded for public record and shared with Congress. It is that important. In 2010, I was selected to go down to the South Pole Station in Antarctica for an entire year by Raytheon Polar Services as an employee of a third-party contractor for the National Science Foundation. I function in a dual-role capacity as a tradesman and a firefighter. My responsibilities required me to be more informed than most of my crew and offered me complete access to the facilities. What I learned from this unique experience needs to be shared with the entire world. The technology at the South Pole Station certainly can do what it is presented as its primary purposes, and unfortunately, much more. The IceCube neutrino detector is presented as a passive listening device for the purposes of the science as presented. But I'm going to skip right through the chase, folks. I have provided documentation that proves that the 5,160, what they call DOMs, that are embedded in the ice can actually transmit at 2,047 volts each. That gives us a long list of things to consider. It is effectively a multifaceted directed energy weapons platform that I will list rapidly a few things that it can do. Vehicle detection. We're learning that these off-world craft, on-world craft, ours or other nations, are also emitting neutrinos. So this makes the South Pole Station effectively an air traffic control station for this new level of equipment that nobody's discussing. In addition to the ability to detect neutrinos and the exotic vehicles, I have provided documentation that shows that this is also a system for faster-than-light communications. In the past, Gary McKinnon has hacked NASA, found the off-world fleet, the list of captains, and it's apparent that if we have faster-than-light vehicles moving throughout the system, we're going to need faster-than-light communications. This is that facility. Unfortunately, I have other bad news. The season that I was there, 2010 to 2011, we converted from construction to operations and maintenance in both the elevated station and the detector array. Unfortunately, when they first fired it up, that was when we had the earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand. There was 2 incidental shots before they were able to target it correctly. This is an earthquake generating device as well. This is the weapons of war that we have to deal with now and what Raytheon's hiding. I witnessed myself a very powerful green laser shooting out of the top of this facility into the cosmos. This, I believe, is a secondary form of long-range communications and or a defense system. I am not saying that we need to be scared of anything that's out there, but please understand the military-industrial complex is happy to invest all of your money in alleviating their fears.
So I really like to read books because they tell you a different side. They tell you something that, maybe you weren't told about. But it's interesting, when you get into the Federal Reserve, you realize that the Federal Reserve runs the economy. They increase the interest rates and tank the economy whenever they feel like. Then we get into Social Security, income tax, and good old Karl Marx. That's where Social Security came from. Then someone's like, what do you mean all the parties are taking over and complete control of the policy based on the Federal Reserve? Look at that. This is a great one too. The sudden death of 1928 leads to the Great Depression by bankers. President of Banker Trust. People might ask, well, who runs it all? The Rothschilds, the Lazards, the Loebs, Warburgs, Lehmans, Goldman Sachs, Rockefeller family, and check that, J.P. Morgan. Books like this came out and they burned them. Why is your country at war? Woodrow Wilson ordered government agents to seize and to destroy the printing plates and copies of this book in the spring of 1918. Wonder why that is. You got this fun one. The price of gold is set by the Rothschilds. We go to the Rothschilds and their plan of action. These are 10 steps to destabilize economies and create, interesting, a new world order under one government. Remember in Germany when they arrested the Rothschilds? You get into the Bolshevik Revolution, remember that whole thing? Orchestrated by bankers, this banker specifically. And then we go to who has stock in the Federal Reserve. Look at the names. You might know a couple of them. There's a couple more. And they're all connected to the Rothschilds and the Bank of England.
When they first found petroleum, because they were beginning to make motors and needed on axles of wheels and railroad trains and all that sort of thing, then oil went from just a lubricant to a fuel, and it made it valuable. And Rockefeller happened to be the smartest man in the business at the time. So in order to get the price up they hit on the idea that they would have to make it appear to be scarce. In 1892, there was a convention in Geneva of scientists to determine what organic substances are. Well, the definition of organic is a substance with hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. Rockefeller took advantage of sending some scientists over who said oil, petroleum, is hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. They defined oil as the residue from formerly living matter. Well, that makes it a fossil fuel. And another thing we should know is that there has never been a fossil, a real fossil, found below 16,000 feet. We mine oil, or we drill for oil, at 30,000, 33,000, 28,000 every day of the week. So right there, we rule it out that it isn't fossil fuel. It's called fossil fuel for the minds of the public to feel that it is an asset that is running out, being depleted. We talk about depletion allowance, which is a lot of, and actually, if you know the world's oil supply, you know that it is not going to run out for an awfully long time. It is the second most prevalent liquid on Earth.
Before 1950, heart disease was rare. Obesity affected less than 10% of Americans. Then something happened. Procter & Gamble had a problem. They had a waste product, cottonseed oil, cheap, industrial, inedible. So they hydrogenated it, gave it a nice white color, and called it Crisco. Then they did something genius and evil. They gave the American Heart Association $1.7 million. Suddenly, butter was the enemy, and seed oils were heart healthy. Hospitals replaced butter with margarine. Home cooks swapped lard for vegetable oil. And within a generation, obesity, diabetes, and heart disease exploded. That's not a coincidence. Part 3 drops tomorrow.